those 6 were, but
Jack, Wright, Yilmaz, Kent and Goulton.
Wright will be back. Young Lowry also is on that injured list, has not returned to training yet. Will return to light training tomorrow, but I'm expecting Scott Wright back yet.
He's the only one at 6.
Yeah.
So in terms of the other 5, who, if any, would you expect to be fit for next weekend?
Connor and Ryan Kent will make next weekend. Tony will be touch and go.
Okay. Just give us your thoughts ahead of this fixture. Of course, you got that win up there right at the end.
Yeah, we remembered for Scott Arfield, wouldn't it? And the last couple of minutes, and Scotty gives us a reminder last week of that as well, arriving late in the box, and he's made his career on that. Listen, the games against Aberdeen, certainly up at Pittodrie, are always feisty. I think Barry's gone in at a difficult time and done really well, and now all of a sudden they find themselves probably where they wanted to be at the start of the season. They're in 3rd place, and that European place it seems that it's in their hands now. Obviously, with 6 league games to go, they'll want to end strongly. Barry's been behind the scenes at the club for a long time. He knows the squad, he knows the club inside out. I think it will be a good game, 2nd versus 3rd. We seem to, every away game at the moment, be going to the informed team when we go away, but our away form's been really strong. I'm looking forward to the trip, and I think it'll be a good game.
You obviously have got other players still missing, but you still minded to rest other players for this game, semi-final around the corner?
No. We'll play the strongest team that's available this weekend for this game, how we want to play. I'm not a massive believer in that is 7 or 8 days between the games. I think we have in general momentum over the last number of games. We've played well, we've scored goals, and I just want to continue with that for the moment.
Graham Shinney won't be available for Aberdeen. First, let me just get your take on the challenge itself. What did you make of it?
Not seen the challenge. I'm not going to pull away from that. I haven't seen the challenge, but what I would say is that I don't like this idea that you ask a question and then you get more. The ban's the ban. You're allowed to ask the question. I don't think you should be penalised more for asking a question. That seems a little bit harsh to me. I wouldn't want that for one of my players, for example. Graham's a committed player. Plays in the middle of midfield, and he has to make tackles and go for challenges. As I say, I haven't seen it, but either way, if you appeal, it's okay, you're asking a question. You shouldn't get penalised more. I think we need to look at that.
Would this rule deter you from making an appeal should one of your players get a red card?
I just think it's like we don't want people to appeal. We're okay to ask a question. The only thing I would say, VAR, we moan about what it does and doesn't do for us. I think that we've seen less reckless tackles since VAR has come back in. We should have less controversy really, because everyone can see the thing back and the referees get the second opinion from the side, obviously from the guy behind the VAR monitor. So I just feel in this situation, I didn't see it, I didn't see the incident, but I'm thinking, well, if you appeal, the ban should either be the ban or it gets reduced. I don't see how it should be increased. I think we're setting a dangerous precedence there.
Given your views on the kind of frivolity rule, clubs have the opportunity to change the rules. They can vote for a change. Is that something you think Rangers might wish to consider?
Well, I just think if your player's sent off and you wish to appeal and it's contentious, otherwise I don't think you would appeal. There must have been a debate over it within the media, and Aberdeen wouldn't have made it up from anywhere that they thought that they could go for it. I don't think that I just don't believe that it should be increased, and that's not. I'm talking about a player from another club. I'm the Rangers manager. I want to talk about Rangers, but if I was in that situation and it was clear there was maybe a decision to be made, as long as we ask a question, I don't think we should be punished for asking a question.
Just on that, in terms of issue, Todd was just in there and he thought the bookings have been harsh this season. Is that something you just had to tell him? Got to be wary of here.
I didn't know Todd Cantwell could get bookings when he played for Norwich, so that's a nice surprise that he's used to the Scottish game and stuff like that. I can't remember too many of Todd's bookings, so I don't want to go down that route. As I say, just in general with the referees, since I've come back in the league, I've been quite pleased with things, and there's been an open dialogue between us and Crawford, which I think has been really positive, and something I wasn't aware of when I was an assistant. So as a manager, I've been really positive on that. You've asked me a question on the Shinnie one. If I appealed something, should my player get more? Well, it's the club that appealed, so I think that's harsh.
In terms of Todd actually said there's a noticeable difference between referees in England and up here. And as a manager, have you found a difference?
No, I used to think the game up here was very robust and we allowed things to go and it was part of our game and the fans knew it, and sometimes we went in Europe it was refereed slightly different. I think VAR's cleaned that up a little bit. I think the game now, there's no off the ball stuff. I've not seen anything off the ball this season since I come back into the league, and I've seen some things in the past, but VAR's cleared that up, I think, across football, but certainly here in Scotland, I've not seen anything this season that has been off the ball that they've gone back and looked at, and I think maybe that's because the players know all the cameras are there and the little dark arts of the game are disappearing. So I think that's a positive. I think the games are flowing well. Our whole debates every week, it seems, in the media and with every manager is around the handball ruling.
Yeah, that seems to be the huge sticking point. And VR, it's been universally welcomed by many people, but you seem to be well in favour of it.
Well, we voted it in and we have it now, and it's cost a lot of money from everybody in the league to get it in place, and so we have to give it time. There's going to be teething problems. What I would say is I watched the Champions League game this week against two of the best teams in the world. I'm not sure either of those were penalties either, and that's so, when we're pointing fingers, maybe we have to, when we're pointing fingers in our own league, maybe it's just that ruling. I think maybe we need to look at the handball rule. The officials can only apply the rule as it is and in their interpretation of it, and I think that's always going to be open to debate, but I think in general VAR has seen less reckless tackles, less off the ball stuff, and the game's flown more, so I'm still seeing some benefits from it.
In terms of moving forward, yes, obviously the next biggest game is of course Aberdeen, but you must have an eye on a week on Sunday, or have you?
No, of course. The first game is this one this weekend, and it's a very dangerous game for us because Aberdeen are in a good place and we're going up there, and they've played us twice since I come back in. It's the third game against them. It'll be the 23rd game, and I've played them 3 times. The games have been very, very close, so they'll be buoyant, and we're going up there. So my first focus is that, and then from the moment the game ends, I'll look to next week. It's a dangerous thing looking ahead too far, but of course we know it's in the background. It's impossible to be sat here with all you guys and not know.
In terms of yourself, was there a social media post this week in Rome? Have you been on holiday? Or?
No, I've not been on holiday. Obviously, I've been off working for the club and doing my job and off watching games. We played Saturday, which is nice. When we play on a Saturday, it gives me a chance at this stage of the season, when it's Saturday to a following Sunday, to go out and maybe meet some contacts or watch some games, and that's what I was doing.
Important, of course, given that Ross Wilson's no longer here, how much more has that added to your workload in terms of looking at players and in the scouting system?
No, like 2 things. Looking at players every minute of every day since I come in November. It's what I love to do. I love recruitment. I like looking at new players. I want to be excited coming in. I've said to you since the very first interview that there will be change, and you ask me every time I sit here and every week I say, yeah, there will be change. We're getting closer to that. I've been heavily involved. Ross is more of the guy that would oversee recruitment and they would bring lists, but I obviously have my own list. We combine it all. Ross would deal more with the agents and the negotiation side. I would deal more with the player in terms of where does he fit, what do I want from him, and Todd would be able to explain all that to you from the process he went through. Okay, so Ross is not here. I have someone else doing the negotiation part, and I go on the road and meet the players as I've always done. So I'm a little bit more busy, maybe 10%, but we've got really good infrastructure and really good staff here. So Ross leaving is not as big as maybe 1 or 2 would make out.
Do you see that as a key part of your role, though, to physically actually go and see players?
100%. We're in an age where data and statistics are thrown at you, but that's not really the game. You have to get under your eyes first, and then the stats have to back it up. And for me, you have to sit in a room with a player and he has to tell you why he wants to come to Rangers, how he wants to fit. He wants to understand completely his role when he comes in, and if you're signing a player in the same position as somebody else, they want to ask the question if they're going to start or not, and all of that has to take place for me face to face. That doesn't mean that you don't have meetings prior to that, whether over the phone or via Zoom. But the most important thing is you're investing in people and they're investing in you. And those relationships are really important. For me, the relationship and feeling is massive. You know, the relationship you have with people, the feeling you have for the club you're going into, and the way that you play football and your role in it. And so for me, the manager has to be involved and he has to be at the front of it. So that hasn't changed with Ross leaving. It's just that obviously I'm more the go-to person right now.
Are you having any of those meetings in Roma Barca between any players obviously?
Oh, I can't tell you that, can I?
Michael, you did say though that you've been speaking to players this week. How would you say those discussions are going?
Really well. I'm really comfortable with where we're going. It's early in the window. Window shuts on the 1st of September, so it's a long window. It's clear that we want to have most of our work done early. When we've done that in the past, it's always led to a strong pre-season, a strong season. We know at the early part of the season there's European qualification in terms of the Champions League, which is really, really important. So there'll be some new faces on the first day of pre-season, and that's almost your first stage of recruitment to make sure that players are in. And then there's a second phase, which is the player trading that happens between July and September. All of those plans have been written, are in place, and the talks are ongoing.
And the players you've spoken to, have they given an indication that they'd like to come? How close are you?
Yeah, no, I'm keen. There's one or two things we're not far away from sealing, so I'm really happy.
You spoke, Michael, in January about signing players who would would grow in Ibrox and Campbell and Raskin, presumably are good evidence of why you need to go meet these players and, as you say, get a feeling for their personality, not only what type of player they are.
Yeah, listen, if you go and watch Nico Raskin in the stadium at Standard Liège, I've played against him in that stadium as well. It's a tight stadium and the fans are passionate, they're right on the team, they're expected to win. He's under 21 international, there was enough boxes ticked. And with Todd's played in the Premier League and he's played in some really big stadiums, in some big games, and so there was no issue with either of those players. The big thing with those was explaining to them exactly how they would fit into the plans here, making sure that they were excited by that and were going to bring energy into the room, and they have done. They're at the infancy of their Rangers career. They've achieved very little yet other than some good individual performances.
Could I ask about Ryan Jack as well? You didn't mention him as a longer issue for him. Don't expect him to be back next weekend.
I think Ryan Jack will be 3 or 4 weeks.
Michael, Ryan Kent's been heavily linked with London this week. Says discussions have begun according to speculation. You will update us on that and where the club stand with that?
I think they're in an embargo at the moment, so whether that's going to be lifted or not, but no, I don't know anything about that. You know, me and Ryan see each other every day. We're fine with where everything's at the moment. There's no news on Ryan's future, and when there is, I'm sure it'll be announced officially. There's going to be a lot of rumours because he's a player out of contract and he's a good player.
Are you still confident that you can persuade him to stay here?
It's not a matter of persuading. It's a matter of having a conversation and making sure we're on the same page. So it's not a matter of persuading.
Brilliant.
So